And I said to him, what do you reckon? This is as they were walking out. He says, I have the feeling this could be a terrible, terrible fight. And I was like, oh no, don't say that. And then just Vladimir, the whole arena couldn't believe what we were seeing. And I don't think any normal human being can understand what those two would go through in that fight. Like, there were times where any normal person would want to take a breather, but they decided not to. They decided to continue to come forward. Like, someone would look like they're hurt, and then you think, oh, he's a bit tired, let me just chill out a little bit and get a breather. No, it was, I must go for it here. And I just remember at the fight, I had no idea of the scoring because it was just so back and forward. And one thing that was good was the scoring in terms of how close the judges got it on the night. I think one gave it by 2 rounds and the others by 1 round, one each way. So yeah, which is, you know, it could have gone either way. You realise things watching it back, you know, how well technically Dillian Whyte boxed that night, how much variation he had to his punches, and then you also realise just the will of Derek Chisora and the trading ups of the left. I mean, like, he does things that are so dangerous to do, and all the things you shouldn't do against Dillian Whyte, like trade up left hooks. But he knows that gives him a great chance to do it, and he's so exciting. And I mean, that was brutal.
They often say, don't they, about rematches, whether they're going to live up to the hype and be as good as the first one. I don't think we've got anything to worry about, have we, with these two?
Both fighters are better now. They're both improved. They both had more experience. They both know each other. They both know what they're in for. There's an element of the unknown in the first fight, yet they'd sparred probably about 80 and 90 rounds of each other prior to the first fight. A lot of people don't really realise that. So they really know each other. So going into that first fight, they both were full of confidence. This time round, Dillian Whyte has had great success of late. Chisora has had great success behind closed doors. And I believe the performance he put up here, which you saw there, he's in such better physical condition going into this next fight.
What's changed? Because I think it's fair to say in the past that maybe discipline's been a bit of an issue, which is what you mentioned about the eating, the not going to the restaurant, the eating kind of bad food. What else has changed with him?
It's just the volume of training, the type of intensity that he trains. In the past, he's kind of trained on his own schedule. I don't feel like training out, my arms ache and stuff, I'm not going to train. Whereas now you have a schedule to train. We have to do X amount of sessions per week. We need to, if you miss this bit, we have to do extra tomorrow. So he just has to get the volume of training. So when he gets into this soul searching zone, he's not fighting on fumes. You know, he's not falling over because he's out of energy. He still can keep punching and fights for 3 minutes of the round to exhaustion, and to know when he sits down on the stool at the end of the 3 minutes, feeling completely zapped, he knows in that 1 minute rest, his heart can come down and he can recover and he can go back out there for another 3 minutes of hell. And something I used to do in my training, and I've talked to Don about and to his conditioning coaches, and he's doing it. He's pushing his anaerobic threshold way further than he's ever done, and you can see it. You know, the bursts. He's in here he has 2 or 3 massive bursts, and then he kind of needs to sit on the ropes and take some punishment to have a breather. That doesn't work against this version of Dillian, because he just keep the pace, keep the pressure on him.
Do you think the mindset's changed though, like Dillian? I mean,
watching that.
Yeah, he is. But like when we watched the first Gloves Are Off, it was just like this, like road man, like just this guy who was like raw. You know, his first gloves are off. Didn't really have anything to lose. It was a British title defence. He hadn't really earned a lot of money at that stage in his career. Now all of a sudden he's sitting on the verge of a world title shot. He's made a lot of money. But Chisora hasn't changed. Chisora's the same person as he was in the build-up to that fight. But Dillian he looks very different. He's a lot more mature now. He's a lot wealthier now. He's got a lot more to lose.
Well. Do you think that's kind of helped him?
No, I just think he's a lot more mature as a person. You know, a businessman. You know, he's financially secure now. Like then he was just like, he still had that street mentality. I'm not saying he hasn't got that. He definitely does. But Chisora is the same. Like, so does he have to have that kind of fight? You know, does he have to fight like that? Because then he wanted to. He wasn't told to fight like that, but that was
forced to.
Yeah, but and also that was his mentality. I'm not backing that now. Is he going to be smarter? Is he going to try, or will Derek just not enable him? to think smart or box smart, but he is at a different stage in his career now. You see these young fighters coming through that are just ruthless, fearless. They have nothing. They don't know what they've got. They don't know what they've got to lose. Whereas Dylan now's at a stage where he has a lot more to lose here than Derek Chisora. A lot more to lose. Chisora's going for it. You know, he could shock the world, knock out Dillian White, try and fight for the world heavyweight title. These two will be unbearable. You know what I mean? And then you've got Dillian White, he's got it.
Yeah.
He's beaten all these guys. He's sitting at number 1 in the WBC. He's top 5 of everybody else. He didn't need to take this fight.
Do you think they come fight week, they'll both be able to keep their emotions in check?
Yeah, well, interestingly, the 2 years suspended sentence is up. So, you know, but at the same time, yeah, but I think at the same time, Robert Smith would kill me and kill everybody else. I don't think they're capable, but they have had that extra 2 years to mature. And I think, you know, a fighter would tell you, David will tell you, when you've shared that kind of experience in a ring, no matter what you think of that individual, what you thought of them before, you saw them after the belt. They embraced.
Respect as well.
There is definite respect. I don't think they particularly like each other, but I don't think there's that same mentality in the first fight where they just wanted to fight at all times. I think now they realise, they have to remember, that was a British title fight. You know, this is like one of the biggest heavyweight fights of the year, and one of the most important heavyweight fights in the division outside the World Championship. So it's like, it's on another level now. This is the real big league. That was Dillian White coming off Dave Allen and Ian Lewison. You know, now he's coming off Lucas Brown, Josie Parker. He's number 1 with the governing bodies. He wasn't even, I mean, he just broke it into the top 15. So there's so much more in play now, and I just wonder whether in the fight it might start a little bit cagier,
And then,
because, I don't know, but probably not.
what do you think?
I definitely think if Dylan can keep it long and win easy, he will. I don't think he's going to want to engage in battle unnecessarily, as he said, he's got a lot to lose. But Derek knows. I've said to him, you have a boxing match with Dylan, you're going to come off second best. You know, he's got longer arms than you. He loves jabbing. Jabbing's not your thing. Why bother? Just get involved and just go to war from round 1. Force Dylan to have a terror, because that's your best chance of winning this fight.
What's it been like working with Derek? I mean, it's no secret, there's bad blood between the two of you. You have knocked him out in the past. I think it's fair to say there were a fair few eyebrows raised when it was announced you were going to be looking after him.
Especially for me.
Yeah.
I thought, oh no, for fuck's sake.
It's been challenging. It's been interesting. It's, you know, seeing. I'm used to working with amateurs turning professionals, so I'm showing them the ropes and let them know how the business works, how the boxing works, training, conditioning. He's been there, done it. He's got his team. He's got his way of working, and I'm trying to say, okay, this is how you've been doing it. This is how I did it. You know, with success. You've done this with success. But, you know, maybe use this guy for this. You're the nutrition guy, or this guy. Just trying to add bits without trying to inundate him with what I used to do, because we're two very, very different athletes. We have different styles. We have different strengths physically. And he's picked and choose some of the bits he feels he can give benefits, and we can see the benefits. So it's been interesting, some of the decisions he makes on certain things. I wouldn't.
Have you clashed at all?
A little bit. I'm a little bit of a control freak, you know, so I like it how I like it, and other people have their way of doing
I
things.
would have said that a couple of years ago. Have you been dragging him out of anywhere? Or just keep dragging him out of bed, like, you know, like.
He's been getting up. Maybe a couple bangs on the door to really get him out. But he's been turning up for training way more. A lot of people told me before this all kicked off, good luck with Derek. Everyone's like, it's like behind like a secret. Everyone thought it was hilarious that I thought he was going to do the sort of training I used to do. I trained very hard, but he has. You know, the type of training he used to do. And say training I did, he's meeting me more than halfway. You know, he's doing so many more training sessions. He's getting his massage 3 times a week. You know, before I can't bother massage, but now he's doing his massage. He's doing his stretching before it. He's doing all of the things that will give him those marginal gains in a fight that was so tight the first time round. Any advantage you can get, 1%, 2%, little fractions of percents here and there. Are you going to just go out? Are you going to eat straight away? Are you going to have your post-workout shake straight away? Or are you going to go out to a restaurant and you're at the mercy of whatever the chef decides to put in your plate. You know, so I've tried to monitor every single aspect of it, and it's tough, you know, when someone isn't used to that, you know, and the whole team and whole infrastructure around him is they're saying it's very different, the feedback they get, and some, you know, Derek gets very moody from time to time, and, you know, certain times you kind of got to leave him alone. I can tell sometimes, okay, he doesn't need a talking to now, or, you know, keep your
He's
distance.
still doing those mad runs where he runs like from his house
Yeah, I've tried to
to
stop
the
him
West
doing
End
that.
with a like a backpack on that's like as big as him.
Yeah, I know.
And you look on his Instagram, it says like 3:22 a.m.
Yeah, I know.
Westminster
Yeah.
Bridge.
We'd have a training session set for 9 a.m. in the morning. He used to come to the gym, and he came from, I think it was Mill Hill, so he put his boots on and ran at about 4 a.m. in the morning. I'm like, well, you trained at 9. When did you sleep? Oh no, I woke up and I had to run. Okay, we put 10-mile run in the diary then. So he still does his thing, but he needs that. He needs to wake up and just go for it. Although that might mess up the whole schedule, we've got to work around Derek's schedule, but we're still getting the work done. So that long endurance session gets done when he feels like it from time to time.
I can vouch that I offered him Percy Pigs ringside a few weeks ago and he said no.
That's a big change.
So
that is the change that we've been looking for.
Exactly.
That
How
Percy Pig
involved
kind
have
of
you
guy.
been though? Have you been in the ring with him at all?
I haven't been. I've been in the ring in terms of working with Don Charles, sort of not physically in the ring. I haven't been sparring with him or anything like that. I think that might be just too much, too many egos floating around. But in terms of being there from training, yeah, I've been there for a lot of his training. I've seen improvement. There are certain things lately I noticed that was happening in the fight that he's been working on. So hopefully some of the stuff that you saw him getting countered with shouldn't be happening this time, and certain stuff that we're missing in that fight will be landing. You know, I'm telling you, it's going to be so furious, very, very fast. You know, it doesn't need to be any feeling out. What they're feeling out each other out for. Derek doesn't need to feed his way into the fight and get behind a jab for a couple of rounds. He's got shorter arms and he's not a jabber. You know, Dylan White has got a world-class jab. You know, he can keep anyone at the end of that jab. And Derek needs to get busy very, very fast.
What do you think? What kind of fight are you expecting second time?
I think what David said, like, Chisora can't afford to do anything else but make it a dogfight.
Yeah.
And he's very good at making it a dogfight. I mean, you saw against Carlos Takam, it was the weirdest tactics I've ever seen, where he just sat on the ropes. He got beaten up for like 2 minutes and then beat Takam up for a minute, lost many rounds, but then took his time and then just when it got to like the 5th or 6th, you started thinking, well, he's tiring Takam, you know, and then he chinned him twice, and it was unbelievable. But he broke Takam. That's what he done. He soaked it up, and then he broke him. I don't advise that he soaks it up against Dillian White.
I can't do that.
You know, but at the same time, you see him take so many risks. Like, how many times was he trading there with his chin in the air? He has got an unbelievable chin, like remarkable chin. But you can't keep in your career taking shots. And Dillian White can't afford to take shots. Dillian White, let's not forget, was 10 seconds away from losing his last fight, basically. You know, it's a mixture of being hurt but being exhausted against Parker. So we talk about, oh, Chisora was in a real rough fight last time out. Is he the same fighter? Dillian White was in a tough fight, and he was on the floor 10 seconds from the final bell. Look, struggling to get to his feet. So they're both capable of tiring. They're both capable of being hurt. They're both capable of trading when they shouldn't trade, or trade with their chin in the air, and they're not afraid to do it. I think Dave's right. Dillian would prefer, I'm sure Mark Tibbs would be saying to him, you don't need to be having that kind of fight with Chisora. But unfortunately, when you've got this relentless guy who's making you fight at all times, you have to fight back. Because one, it's in his DNA, and two, he can't afford then to not fight back. So it's going to be mad. It's going to be an extension of what you've just seen, because Chisora won't, like that. Chisora won't go in there and he won't lose 5 or 6 rounds on a spin by not trying to put it on Dillian White, because what's the point? This is his last roll of the dice. He's not scared. He's been here before. It's what he does, and it's what he does best.
What about the AJ carrot that's been dangled?
It's interesting with everything that's been going on with Fury Wilder. You know, we don't know what's going to happen. You know, if we got Wilder, which is our number 1 choice, brilliant. If we got Fury, which would probably be our number 2 choice now, brilliant. If not, we look at December 22, and say the winner of that fight is a must, really, if we don't get Wilder or Fury. And they will probably rematch. Yeah, it is, but whatever happens, like, the heavyweight scene is so vibrant right now, you have to say that the winner of WHYTE CHISORA is the number 4 heavyweight in the world, right? And beyond that, you've got Luis Ortiz, you've got Jarrell Miller, you've got a whole list of guys now. You've got like basically 10 guys in the division that would all give you competitive fights, which hasn't been the case for a long, long time. But this fight with the profile and obviously with the carrot and you know, I don't know. I mean, AJ's always said that, you know, AJ, like, Chisora's one of AJ's heroes, really, because when he was growing up, he was down Finchley, and he always looked at Chisora as like, oh, that's how you make it. Look at Derek Chisora, like, he's unbelievable.
But Chisora's the only person that hasn't called out AJ, right?
Yeah, because I think for that reason, like, AJ's always said, I wouldn't fight Chisora, like, he was like God to me down Finchley. But that changes quite quickly. I mean, he's not telling me he's going to fight Chisora, but I know he would fight Chisora. But Chisora's still not what we're looking at. You know, we're looking at undisputed championships, but we also know that if that's not possible for April, this fight is going to be one that the winner will not just want to fight AJ, but the public will say, okay, you can't get Wilder Fury, so fight White or fight Chisora if he wins. And if it wins by brutal knockout, and these guys are screaming and shouting for a world heavyweight shot, people's opinions quickly turn. Don't get me wrong. The public now want AJ Wilder or AJ Fury, or Wilder Fury rematch. And Dillian White or Chisora go, yeah, good fight, but you know, on December 22nd, that can all change.
What about Alexander Usyk? Could that be a name that?
No, apparently that's already done for April the 13th, but we've not even had a conversation with Usyk. I'm seeing him this week. He's coming over for the fight next week as well. Usyk, unless he's completely crazy, will want 1 or 2 fights at heavyweight before he fights Anthony Joshua. But maybe he fancies it. I mean, Jarrell Miller is another fight. That maybe we go, yeah, maybe we go to America. I mean, Jarrell Miller against one of these guys. You know, if Joshua gets Wilder, like, anyone's in play. I said in an interview earlier, anything can happen on April the 13th. Anything. Could be Wilder, could be Fury, could be Chisora, could be White, could be Usyk. I can't tell you right now, but you know, I made the mistake last time. We both did actually. Both camps are talking too much during negotiations, and I'm not saying anything this time. So I know there is. So we go to New York this week. Rocky Fielding's fighting Canelo, which is 2 names I never thought I'd put.
I don't believe you'll not be able to say anything.
I'm going to try. I'm going to try because I want to make it happen. But I'm really. I mean, a lot of people are excited about this fight in boxing, particularly, and a lot of the fighters. You know, AJ will be here, Bellew will be here, David's obviously going to be there. Usyk's fighting over, Jarrell Miller's fighting over. You know, you could bet your life Wilder and Fury will be watching this fight as well. Because the first one was brilliant and no one knows what's going to happen. I think Dillian is a slight favourite in this fight because of his form. But, you know...
Do you think people are underestimating Chisora though?
No, I just think Dylan's shown that he's improved and improved. He's probably slightly the fresher of the two. But the win against Takam really spun everything on his head because Takam is a very, very good fighter. Takam will probably be on the bill. And we're looking to get him an opponent now. It's not easy. But Michael Hunter, you know, all these guys look at Takam and go, no thanks. He's just been knocked out.
Yeah.
So no. He's someone we don't need. You know, Dave sparred with him saying earlier, just a nightmare. And that's what Chisora went in with him, no problem.
Yeah.
And knocked him out. And he don't care, he has no fear.
Right, shall we open it up to the floor? Your chance to grill him. Any questions? Hello? Come on, you've got to have some questions.
He's probably just said everything there possibly was.
All right.
Where do you see
Wait
the
1 second,
heavyweight?
I'll give you the mic so we can hear what he
Come
wants.
on, Andy.
Yeah, I need the...
One job.
Hiya.
Hi.
Bit loud. Where do you see the heavyweight division in 12 months' time? What do you see happening?
I think, and like I said, anything is possible. I mean, literally everything's in play. If we had our way, Joshua would fight Wilder next. Like I said, he probably will rematch Fury. Fury could win. Fury could lose. AJ could fight Dillian White, could lose. Dillian White could get beat by Chisora. You know, we might go to America and fight Jarrell Miller. It's so exciting. Luis Ortiz, Joe Joyce, you know, Dubois on the domestic scene as well. You've got younger fighters like Dubois and Gorman and, you know, these kind. David Price. David Price is only 1 win away on December 22nd from being in, not a world level fight, but all of a sudden a big domestically relevant fight. So that's what's exciting about the division. Anything can happen, but when you know how big boxing is when literally you can't walk down the road without someone asking you about AJ Fury, AJ Wilder, when's this going to happen? Oh, what CHISORA, who's going to win that one? Everyone's talking about boxing. Yesterday I got a train back from Sheffield to London, and 8 Tyson Fury fans come and sat next to me for 3 hours. I had to talk to them for. I'm like, they're cool. And it wasn't just Tyson Fury. It was, oh, do you know what I like Josh Kelly, or they talk about Josh Taylor, and what about him? And the knowledge of these fans is incredible. It's not just like, oh, do you reckon he'll knock it? Who else is there? They know everybody. And when you go to America, fans sit down in arenas, they don't even know who's on the bill. When they come to these cards, they know every fighter that's on the bill, and they know their backstory, they even know a little bit about their record, they know who their competitors are in the weight division. It's a very educated audience over here, which is, you know, starting to become not good news for me, because I can't bluff them as much, you know.
I seem to spend my time arguing against the Americans about boxing most of the time. And, it's literally a one-wall.
Yeah, it's a tough task.
Yeah. Thank you.
Who's next?
Question for David. As part of you daydreamed a little bit about a comeback against Usyk. How did that pan out? Has part of you considered a comeback against Usyk?
No. Not one bit. I got beat by Bellew, and Bellew got beat by Usyk. Definitely not. No, I watched that fight. I thought Bellew boxed as well as he's ever boxed. To be honest, I thought he boxed against Usyk way better than he fought me. His timing, his reflexes, he really stepped up a level. But I think that shows how good Usyk is. He's in his prime. He's young. He's fresh. He's hardly had any miles. He's had no miles on the clock really. And I think it was just unfortunate timing, as maybe 2-3 years ago for Bellew, who would have had to maintain that type of pace he set for himself, because he was winning.
That's what he was disappointed about.
Yeah.
Even till now, he's dirty tired
Yeah.
in the fight. And I don't know, I said, you know, talk about the weight and stuff like that, but I think it was more about the mental pressure that Usyk applied, like with his feet, like constantly. And Bellew was concentrating so hard.
I think it was that. I think it was his age. I genuinely, I think it was age. You can't do mid-30s, but you can do mid-20s. And you know, I just thought you're right. Usyk was applying the pressure in a very educated manner, but I just think that Bellew outboxed him. He was outboxed. He was countering him. He was controlling the ring. He was making him miss, making him pay. And I was like shocked. I couldn't believe. Wasn't expecting that type of fight. I just couldn't keep it going. If he could do the same thing for 12 rounds, he would have won the fight. He would have made Usyk get desperate, and he would have got countered more. But I think once I think he got hit with a big uppercut right at the end of the 5th round.
Wobbled him at the end.
Wobbled him, that shouldn't have boost. I think that was kind of the beginning of the end. But it's just, but to answer your question, no, I haven't thought about making a comeback in any way, shape or form.
Do you feel at peace now? Kind of okay with it?
Yeah, I'm fine. I know I'm at peace with the fact that I couldn't have done any more. And this body that I've got, this shell of, I did everything this could do. I couldn't have trained. It wasn't like I missed a couple of sessions here and I put everything into it, put my whole life on hold, and just did everything I could to give myself the best chance. And when you fall short, given 100%, there's nothing more you can do. You just got to, that was the end of it. So I'm happy knowing that I had nothing left to give. So I haven't thought about making a comeback at all in any way, shape or form. I've just been happy sitting back and watching the young guys coming through, doing their thing, and appreciating obviously like Wilder and Fury the other night. You know, knowing that both these guys are going to get so much better than what they did then. You know, I can see mistakes on both sides, and I know both of them are just going to get way better. Give it a year, 2 years, these guys are going to be amazing. Or AJ against Povetkin. You know that these guys, they're not the finished article. None of them are the finished article yet. They've got such potential to go on to be great. All of them have, and it's just in such a great environment where you can put them all in each other, and no one really knows what will happen.
But you're quite happy just sat watching?
Yeah, I am. I know I can't mix it with these guys now, and it's nice to think, okay, let the young guns, young lions come out and do their thing.
Watch that.
When I watched that, I was like, yeah, only give me a headache watching it. Honestly, it was like the amount of punishment these guys took in that fight. That would take, it's bad to say it, but it would, I see fighters, you know, when somebody's like, got a great chin. I see a fighter like a tree, and you can have an axe, you can hit the tree and say, this tree's solid. Keep chipping away. At some stage, the axe is going to take such a big chip at it, it's just going to go over. When it goes over, it goes over. And we don't know how many more chips both fighters have got left, because they've both taken it. As you said, Dylan, in his last fight, was out on his feet in the last round. Chisora was out for most of the fight in the first against Takam. And then you had that fight to it. It's like, how much more punishment can these take before the chins go? Because when it goes, it goes. I know what it's like. I couldn't take a shot in my last fight like I could a few years prior to that.
What's it like mentally though, when you've been through such a grueling fight like that, and you kind of know you're facing going through it again? What's that like mentally, knowing that you're...
For people with that mentality.
Yeah, it's nice. It's like, I relished going, like, for instance, the rematch with Belly. I couldn't wait to get back in there. I was like, oh, yeah, you feel it didn't go great. I was like,
But the normal people will go, I'm
Yeah,
doing that again.
yeah, it's a night to go through such an ordeal at the time. It sounds great. It's like, I've talked to women who have had kids. After they've had a kid, they say, I'm never having a kid. That's the last thing. I give it a couple of weeks. I can't wait for the next one. The pain of that goes, and you just read the press clippings or watch the reviews or see it on YouTube. Then you want to do it again. You know, the pain of the headaches you had or whatever, the pain that you have, it all heals up, and you want to do it again. So I understand why both these guys are chomping a bit to do it again. We're all watching and thinking, well, why would they want to do that again? It was trauma on the brain. But these guys are warriors. They're fighters. That's what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, next one here.
Just in terms of the ambition of both fighters going in, obviously depending on who wins, is that Chisora still looking to fight world titles against, you know, Joshua and Wilder, or is it?
Derek knows that even mentioning any of the world champions means nothing unless he wins by a large margin, a split decision here or technical. He wants a knockout. He wants a knockout because he knows a knockout would then put his name up there. As you said, he's got Dylan's got some mandatory thing, OBC, and he's highly ranked in all the governing bodies. So he's aware of this. He's not talked about anything other than this fight. It's not after this fight we're going to do that. They haven't talked about Christmas, haven't talked about New Year. It's just this fight. That's it. And he has to win this fight. He knows it's not a, you know, he's not going through the motions. He's doing what he needs to do, and the best possible version of Derek, or the best version you've seen of him so far. So looking at how gassed he was in that fight, he won't be going by what, unless he keeps getting nailed with that left hook. If he doesn't keep getting nailed with that left hook, he's going to have so much more in the tank. And because I was watching Dylan's up close work was beautiful in there. The little left uppercuts and the stuff that he was doing, very, very clever stuff. But he's only got better. He's better now than he was then. So there's just going to be more of that. So when you get two guys, Chisora with the intensity and Dylan White with the aggression, and when they come together, it makes for absolute fireworks. But both fighters deep down know they have to win this fight and win it, because they both have this same fight again. There's all damage done. Even with Dylan knows the fight with potentially AJ, it's only 4 months away. You can't have any more than a month off. And if you've got a broken jaw, ruptured eye socket, you can't then fight. So these guys got to win the fight and win it in an explosive manner where the damage isn't done to you. So they're both going to be going for the knockout as early as possible, because they don't want a 12-round punch fest like that, because they need to be fresh enough to go to the big one. So for me, these guys are going to go lock horns real quick, real fast, and it's going to be headaches. I'm excited, people.
Anyone else? No?
Yeah, there's one there.
We can hear you from here. Go on.
Well, it's one for Eddie. If you could make and promote any fight at the moment, but involving non-veteran fighters, what would it be?
Oh, good, I like that one.
It would be Lomachenko against Mikey Garcia. But not after Mikey Garcia's boxed Errol Spence. Before that. That'd be the way.
Well, not Fury and Wilder.
All right, yeah.
Who asked you a question?
He's on the payroll, isn't he? Yeah, that would be a good fight to make as well.
Tough to go with the line there,
Yeah.
on the undercard of
I'll be on the undercard of Lomachenko Garcia.
Any more? James Tynan, you had a question?
How soon do you see fighters like Daniel Dubois and Nathan Gorman challenging for like the fight?
I think they're a long way off that kind of level, and I think the promoter knows that as well. I mean, but domestically, like for whenever there's a thriving world scene, it's so good that there's a thriving domestic scene. And actually, in boxing, that's when you know how big it is, because you know you've got a thriving domestic and world scene in nearly every division right now. You know, on the heavyweight scene, you've got Joe Joyce, Hughie Fury, Nathan Gorman, David Dubois, David Allen. You know, they're the domestic guys right now. And then you've got the world guys, which is Chisora, Dillian White, Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua. And you've got that across all the divisions. One thing I think is really interesting, and I obviously, you know, I'm an Anthony Joshua fan. I don't think he gets the credit, to be honest with you, after 22 fights that he should do, because when you look at people like Kevin Johnson, who just went 10 rounds, I mean, Kevin Johnson is, like, he's been past his best, let's say, for a long time. He went 10 rounds recently with Daniel Dubois, and on Saturday, he also went the distance with Hrgovic, who is a really good fighter. Joshua iced him in 1 round. Actually, they let him out for the second round, but it went about 10 seconds in the second round. This was on the undercard of the Kell Brook Frankie Gavin fight. This was in May 2015, or something like that. This was 3 years ago. And Joshua went through Kevin Johnson in 1 round. So those guys, those Kevin Johnson fights are important for those guys. I think Joe Joyce is moving a lot quicker. And I think because of his age, and he's just got that style where he's going to be a nightmare for a lot of people till he gets hit hard on the chin head on by a puncher. Then he's gonna, you know. But Dubois, Gorman, you know, they're all younger guys who are going to be really good heavyweights in time. But you never really know, do you? It's like WHYTE, Josh Kelly, Anthony Fowler, till they step up to that level against people who can really fight. Joe Joyce, the same. You know, you don't know. Joe Joyce looks really good at the moment. He's steamrolling people, but he's never really boxed anyone of a level. He may turn up, fight a good solid heavyweight puncher and get sparked out in the first round. Same with Dubois, same with Gorman, same with Josh Kelly, same with Fowler, same with WHYTE. You just don't know, but that's the exciting thing about finding out.
Any more? No. Do you get a break? Are you switching off at Christmas?
I think we've done 14 weeks on the spin at the moment. And we're doing the calendar, we've got 58 shows next year. So, yeah, not the best. But after this fight, we've got a month off. Oh, so that'll be nice.
Do you actually switch off in the month?
No, you can't, because it's a disease, really. Boxing's a disease. Whether you're fighting, whether you're working for Sky, whether you're managing, whether you're promoting, you don't want to switch off. I'm not complaining because I love it, and if I didn't, I wouldn't do it. But you can't. Everyone, is this being shown? Like, are we allowed to swear or something like that?
This is just...
Okay, people are constantly trying to fuck you. So when you're asleep, the last
in a
thing,
good way.
no, the last thing you want to be is asleep when you're getting fucked, right? So
Oh, this has gone round.
yeah, so in that respect, you've got to always sleep with one eye open. That's what I'm saying. So you don't sleep that great, and but it's a business where, put it this way, I look at people like Bob Arum, who's just turned 87, and I think, what are you doing? What are you doing? But that's because he's a stubborn, relentless competitor. And probably when he started out, he probably thought when he was 50 or 60, oh, I'll end up just swanning around. He can't let it go. And I think fighters are like that.
Disease has got him.
Yeah, but fighters are like that as well, aren't they? How hard is it to let it go and say, do you know what?
It has to be taken from you.
Yeah, but you know what? When it's let go, when it's let go, when you let go, it's probably a lovely feeling. It's like probably the same as being a promoter or a bit of working, you know, with Sky. When you finally go, do you know what? Thank you. I love you as a sport. And off I go. Bye. And you'll be sitting on that beach one day going, thank God for that. But it's actually letting it go. I've got quite a few more years yet, but I can imagine as a fighter to lose what you experience, you know, for all the pain that was going on in that fight, to walk out, to get that buzz, there must be nothing like it. And that's why some fighters do suffer post-career, and I think that's why us and Sky and other broadcast promoters, but especially the British Boxing Board of Control, have got to set something up where, because it's like Ricky
More
Hatton, you know, it's a classic example of, you're losing something, it's like something's being taken away from you, the adrenaline, the experience, and you need something to replace that. And a lot of the time it's drink or it's substance abuse and all that kind of stuff, because you've lost that buzz. You know, a lot of people don't feel satisfied in their career enough to sit on the couch and go, lovely, it's over, you know?
So that's something you want to step into and kind of...
I think we need to help, and it's easy to sit here and say we need to help. It's actually getting off your arse and doing something about it. We've all got an obligation to do that, because we all put people in these fights, and you know, we run a business around fighters entertaining the public and the broadcasters and that kind of thing. So we owe it to them to provide a service after the sport. But too many people, me included, talk about it, but implementing it is another thing.
Yeah.
You know, we're willing to invest money, but someone really needs to sort of get behind it. I think it's probably
someone's baby.
I think it's probably the British Boxing Board of Control or someone within that, an ex-fighter. There are people trying to do it, you know, and we need to sort of come together to help that, because, you know, when it's all over, it's like, it's a bit like, you know, look at like Tony Bellew, and he phoned me yesterday.
How's he doing?
And I didn't see, yeah, it's fine, but I didn't see his missed call, right? And like, that night, I saw it, I thought, oh shit. And the first thing I thought to myself, he'll think, oh, it's great. You know, when he was fighting, I would call him back 2 minutes later. So the first thing I'd done was phone him back. He's like, oh, you called me back now, I'm retired. And I'm like, no, I swear, I didn't see the call, you know, but it's like, you can't have that relationship with everybody when they leave. Our job is to try and make sure that when someone leaves, they're happy, they're financially secure, but the happiness is the most important thing. So I always look at Darren Barker as a great example. You know, he didn't make fortunes and fortunes, he made enough money to secure his future, but he was happy as Larry. Like, he couldn't wait to retire. And when he retired...
He's talked about coming back though.
Yeah, I know, I'll sort that out, don't worry. But he's like, he sits at home, and he's like that guy who's got his world title on the wall, got the British title, got the European title, got his, you know, and he just thinks, I'm fine, I'm at peace. And everyone, you know, that's the greatest thing in the world, is to be at peace. But a lot of fighters aren't at peace, because they've walked away without achieving what they wanted to do, or, you know, before they wanted to, or they haven't got anything else in their life. You know, the training for these guys is so important, because like without that, I spoke to AJ last night, and there was a piece in the Sun about he got his cousins in prison or something like that, and he goes every week to try and, you know, educate him and just try and sort of convince him to live the right life and all that kind of stuff. And I texted him a picture of the paper, and he said that would have been me if I hadn't found boxing. It's the first thing he replied. And again, we're going to end up going too deep here, but boxing is something that the government and local councils need to look at, because how many fighters who are young fighters who are ABCs are in trouble? Like, they're not in trouble, those kids. You know, kids at Repton or, you know, Lynn ABC, like all the different clubs, Club Europe,
Fitzroy
Lodge. These are good kids. Like, they weren't necessarily good kids when they went in there,
No.
but they don't get in trouble. And they're all from the street, they're all from underprivileged backgrounds. And
It's that time after school, it's when they go to bed. What do you do in that time? You finish school, you can either, I used to just go to the gym and train at the gym, go back, I was knackered and go to sleep. Buddies didn't, and they, in that time, give it a couple of years, they find stuff to do, and next thing you know, they're banged up, dead, crackheads. It's pretty unfortunate.
But I think boxing used to be a way out for people, where, and you know, back then boxing was big enough for people to go, you know, I want to be a fighter. And then it went for a period where, you know, we were in leisure centres and there was nothing overly aspirational for young people to go, God, now you've got people like AJ, even Tyson Fury. Dillian White's a good example of someone, like Dillian White had nothing. When Dillian White was fighting as a pro, he was fighting for nothing, for zero purse, just for opportunities. When he come to us, he was just asking for slots on a show. He wasn't even worried about getting, but just like, let me just give me a chance. And look at him now. You know, it doesn't mean, if you go to an ABC, it doesn't mean you're going to become a world champion, but it's going to give you some kind of... Anthony Joshua didn't go to the gym to become a world champion. He just went because he wanted to go and work out and eat a bag and lift weights and do something that was going to give him that regimental lifestyle. And then he ended up becoming a world champion. But these guys have got to speak to those
Yeah, they've
people,
got to drive
and
in.
Dave would be, I can't go in and speak to some kid from, you know, they ain't gonna listen to me. But someone like Dillian or AJ or Dave, you know, they can look at them and go, well, you were in my position.
We were, yeah, we were there. I was that kid at some stage.
Do you feel a responsibility to do something about
Yeah,
it?
yeah, and I try to as much as I can, whenever I can, you know, get a bunch of kids in front of me, just saying, I know what it's like. I've been there, and you know, you come from a little cancer state, and no one's got anything. Like, it's there for you. It's just there. Only if you believe in it, if you want it badly enough, and you're willing to, you know, maybe cut a few friends off who may be your best buddies, but if they're doing the wrong things, dragging you into the wrong things, they ain't really your buddies. You know, it can be a bit of a loner's life being a boxer. You know, no one in my school did boxing, no one in my area did boxing, so I was doing something on my own. No one wanted to hear about who I sparred with, so I then made my friends inside the boxing gym. So none of the people I grew up with used to drink or do smoke or do drugs, because they were all boxers. So I think it's just the people you associate with, you become a product of your environment. And if your environment is around healthy people looking to better themselves, learning a skill, that sort of just manifests it in yourself. But kids don't know that. Nowadays, as well, I've noticed, they want to leapfrog everything. They look at Instagram and see the Rolls Royce or private jet or whatever, and they think, okay, I want that. They don't realise how these things come about. They want to somehow leapfrog that. What do you want to do? You know, I want to be rich and famous. I'm like, so then what? I don't care. That's the problem now. There needs to be some type of, you need to know what path you're going to go on. It's the path that brings the riches at the end of it. You know, if you just go straight for the riches, you end up getting put in prison, because there's only one way to get it without the hard work.
Well, let's hope something can be done about that. Bringing it back to
Putting the
Yeah,
roles to
sorry,
rights.
sorry, yeah.
bring it back to December.
Didn't realise it was on here.
Before you guys go, of course, I have to ask you predictions.
I don't think it'll go 12 rounds this time. I think it's going to be an absolute war, and I think Dillian Whyte will come through that war because of his freshness, because of his improvements, and I think this time you're going to see one of those flurries ending up with a knockout. I think they'll trade off too many times. You can't keep trading like that and getting chinned. Both of them simultaneously getting chinned, wasn't it? It was like a double knockout waiting to happen.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be a double knockout. That's my prediction for this fight, is a double knockout. But I just think at some point they are going to trade off at many points in this fight. But at some point, you just can't continuously do that. Like David said, that tree, you know, we don't know if that tree has got full bark on it or whether it's chipped away. But even if it's got full bark on it, if you keep doing that, it's going to chip that. And I believe that someone will get knocked out in this fight, and I think CHISORA will end up getting stopped.
What is it about the analogies in this fight? We've got bark and we've got laxatives.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah.
What about you?
Rewatching that first fight, I know both fighters are improved. I know both fighters are going to be physically in better condition. You'll be able to see that. Both fighters carrying a bit of excess on them. This time around, I think they'll both be a lot leaner. They'll both be a lot meaner, ready to throw more punches. If you think this is a high punch out, but when fighters are in shape, they don't need rest. They don't need to walk off and sit on the ropes taking shots. They need to clinch. And I think this time around, they're both going to be so much better physically that they won't want this fight to happen again in terms of running out of steam. So they're both going to try to implement their physicality on each other and just go toe to toe early doors. But I just think, seeing what I've been seeing behind closed doors with Derek, the fact that he's changed his life so much, I don't know what Dylan's done. I can only judge him by his last two fights. The pace that he fought Joseph Parker in, decent pace. He seemed to want to slow the pace down when he could, kept it behind the jab, worked when he worked. His counter left hook was his money shot. If Derek can stay away from that, which he's working on doing, then, and applying the pressure heavily, then I fancy Derek CHISORA to grind him down and stop him late.
It's going to be good, isn't it?
It'll be a great fight.
Thank you today, and thank you all for coming. Don't forget, December the 22nd, Sky Sports box office.